Well, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I watched the FA Cup final, watched the first 90 minutes, drove up to the Brecon Beacons during extra time, listening to the radio, and then sat in the car listening to the penalty shootout. So my heart rate was like 120 just sat in the car. So I'm now out walking for another wild camp in very good spirits, and I only wish I had brought a couple of beers with me, but I didn't want to jinx it, so I didn't bring anything to celebrate with or to commiserate with. So tonight we're back in the central Brecon Beacons. We're in Craig Cerrig-gleisiad. I can't pronounce it, but I'll whack it on the screen so you can try and read it and pronounce it yourself. But it's supposed to be a really nice walk, this one. I've done this mountain from a different direction, so I walked along the top of the crag, but never this direction. But it is pretty late, so I have to get a real move on to get up to the top in time to pitch my tent. Aiming for Fan Frynych, I think. Try and pitch up there, somewhere near the edge. Might not even get up there in time for the sunset at this rate, but we'll just see where we end up. Finally making out with my eBay bargain, my Jack Wolfskin Gossamer 1. First time that I'm going to pitch it, so hopefully it'll be okay and I can get myself and my backpack in the tent, because they do give heavy rain for a few hours tonight at some point. The forecast keeps changing as to when, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a good test for the tent, and it's probably the kind of lowest profile tent I own, so it'll be interesting to see how comfortable I'm going to be in it. But yeah, I'm going to stop nattering on now and get a move on and shoot some scenery shots before it gets too dark, because this is a really impressive walk, this one. So I'll catch you in a bit. Well, gaining quite a bit of elevation now, as you can see in the background, and I'm absolutely knackered. I have really struggled to get back into any kind of fitness since I had that nasty virus that's going around. My heart rate seems to be elevated much quicker than usual, much higher than it usually would as well. But it's just the lack of hills and mountains I've walked recently. Just that I've done a few miles, but a lot of it's just been on the flat with the baby, with my partner and stuff. And I did eight miles down the canal with the two girls today, and that was fine because obviously it's nice and flat, nice and smooth. But yeah, these steep bits are absolutely killing me. So I'm stopping now, not really to do a bit to camera, just to actually make sure I survive for the rest of the walk up this mountain. Yeah, it's a really nice walk. It's the views of Pen y Fan and Corndee, and the crag itself, and you can see right over to the Black Mountains from here as well. So yeah, you can't knock the views, and I can see why it's one of the really highly rated walks in the Beacons, because it is short, but the dramatic crag of it, you don't often get that much rocky crag in the Beacons. So a lot of people think the Beacons is just purely kind of boring flat grass and moorland and stuff, but no, there's definitely craggy parts when you know where they are. So hopefully this will be a bit different to some of the normal places you see on YouTube, because I've not seen many people do this, certainly not recently. So my heart rate has gone down a little bit, so I'm going to try and plough on the other half of this mountain now and get to the top and see if there's any sunlight and views left by the time I get up there. Wow, made it to the top. If you want your YouTubers to be non-sweaty and not that you're about to keel over, then you're watching the wrong channel, because I sweated about 5 litres of water up this, at this pretty short mountain, and I feel absolutely, I'd say knackered, but also that exhilaration you get when you get to the top. And to be honest, if you're thinking about doing some hills and mountains and stuff, especially if you want to spend like a day doing them, honestly, that's the worst bit I've done now, because once you get up to the top of the first mountain, particularly on certain routes in the beacon, you can stay up high for most of the day, and the descent and ascent between mountains is not that bad. So like the start of it is definitely the worst part. Once you're up here, it's pretty easy going, really. Lovely smooth grass at the moment, beautiful views. I can just see the trig point and what looks like a really nice colour sky, sunset. The weather forecast has been changing all day about when the weather front's going to push through, but they do give the rain coming in and the wind picking up. So I'm going to try and pitch a tent in the right direction to cope with that. But I've never been in the Gossamer one before, but it gets a lot of good reviews on YouTube and other places. Seems to be a really well respected tent, really strong, really waterproof. Well ventilated with loads of mesh, which is good because I feel like I need to dry off for a couple of hours. So let's hit the trig point, try and find somewhere to pitch, try and get a time lapse going, and try and get the tent pitched before it gets too dark. Because I've never pitched it before, although it should be really straightforward. For a bivvy style tent, it is supposedly quite spacious inside, but I guess the only way to find out if that's true or not for me is to start unpacking my stuff and setting up the sleeping mat and all the rest of it, and see if I've got enough room to get my bag in the bottom, because they do give, like I say, they do give the rain coming in later on. So let's get it done before it happens. You can see the moon in the background now. What a lovely evening. Obviously Corn Deep, Hanavan in the background. I've kind of pitched for a sunrise that's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be raining, but I figured that they do get the river clearing out at some point. So if it's absolutely chucking down, I'm just going to stay in the tent for as long as I can, really, and then hopefully get some nice views of Hanavan in the morning, perhaps do a little bit more filming and stuff. Wasn't much of a sunset, lovely colour sky, but it wasn't worth setting up a time lapse for. Because of the football, I had to really rush out tonight. I wasn't sure whether to watch the football. I was going to come out for like a day in the beacons, but it was Amelie's first football, so I'll pop a little picture of her in her Liverpool gear. So I thought I'd better watch it. You know, it's not often you're going for four trophies in a season. So yeah, I'm going to stop nattering on about the football and get the stuff in the tent. So the tent is up. It is very low profile, but things have managed to cram in there. So there's quite a lot of space down the side still, so I'll probably cram my camera bag down below the backpack, or on top of the, down below the backpack with my tripod and bits and pieces. There's a tiny bit of space at the head end as well, where I'll store some bits and pieces as well that I need to get access to. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because I've never slept in a tent like this before, kind of bivvy tent. And I've tried to pitch it so that they give the winds changing later on. So it's currently kind of head on into the wind, but they give it swinging around the other way. So we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it in terms of, it's not the lightest tent at 1.75 kilos, but it packs down pretty small. So it's the first time I've been out for a long time with the tent actually in the backpack rather than strapped to it. Lovely views from here, the moon, Pen y Fan Corn D. But it's so low profile, it should handle the wind pretty well. Even if it does come a bit sideways, if it's a bit unpredictable in the night, it should be okay. It's pegged down pretty well. There's plenty of pegs, plenty of pegging points. And there's a guy line at the front and back, and that's also going to help with ventilation as well, because there's ventilation at the rear. So far, it's certainly interesting. I've never had a tent like it before. 80 quid, it was a completely impulse purchase. I was watching it and the guy obviously offered it to 80 quid for whoever wanted to do a buy it now, and he reduced the price slightly. So I had a quick look at some videos on YouTube, and it looked pretty solid, and it retails for about £145. You can find it cheaper than that online, but that's the official RRP, so you can certainly buy it for that if you want to, but you probably get a little bit cheaper elsewhere. But I see plenty of them on eBay. £80 is a really realistic, fair price for a used one in really good condition. So I think for under £100, that's what I'm going to try and look at, I think, is tents at less than £100, which you can still go out in and wild camp in all sorts of conditions, really, and be safe doing so. So I think this tent, it's got DAC poles, 5,000mm hydrosac head on the outer, 10,000 on the bottom. It's really low profile. It's well pegged out. It's got two good guy lines. I think this can take some weather, and certainly looking at the YouTube videos and the people that have used it in all sorts of different weather, it is a tent that you can rely on. So obviously for me, it's just a test of, do I like this sort of tent? Do I like the kind of coffin-y type tents? My little Van Gogh, I really enjoyed that, and the height on that. And interestingly enough, I paid £25 for one. Obviously, I got the bargain of a lifetime. There is one on eBay at the moment. It's up to £122 when I last checked about midday today. So I was watching it. I was going to have a little nibble if it was going cheap enough, but it's well out of my price range now for used tents. But yeah, I'm going to chill out, have a can of lemonade to celebrate Liverpool's win over Chelsea today, and then try and get in the tent and try and get my boots on the tiniest little bit of porch, and see what it's like. Well, it's 10 to 1 in the morning, and the wind is getting up quite a lot now. The forecast has definitely changed in terms of how strong the wind is going to get. I reckon it's gusting about 22 miles an hour at the moment, but it's going to get up to about 30 plus, 36 by about 5 a.m. It's going to be really windy most of tomorrow by the looks of it. So it's going to be interesting to try and see how the tent fares, and then see how I can take it down in the high wind. It's pretty exposed up here at the moment, to be honest. So I've just been outside for a wee, because that's the problem when you get to my age. You just can't make it through the night at all, no matter how little you drink. So these tents are really great and cosy, but getting in and out is certainly challenging. But I made sure I've done it now so that at least the rain's supposed to come in at about 2 a.m. It's going to be heavy rain for about 4, maybe 5 hours. So yeah, I'm going to be stuck in the tent. I don't really fancy getting out in the heavy rain because it wasn't exactly a slick get out and get back in a minute ago. So yeah, I'm going to try and get some sleep and yeah, see how much rain we get. Well, I was just trying to get packed up and I was shooting the time lapse, but the rain came up really quickly. It's really windy outside, so the showers are blown over really quickly, and they give it coming in with heavy rain again for maybe an hour or so. So I was trying to get up and packed away and stuff before that came back, but I've had to bail back into the tent and I'm kind of like half packed up, half unpacked. And yeah, the tent did really well last night. It was really windy. It was absolutely chucking it down for hours at a time. But it's a really secure little tent. It's so low to the ground that the wind didn't really bother it that much. It's a little bit flappy, but structurally it was absolutely sound. The poles didn't really move at all. So yeah, like for a first test for an £80 tent from eBay, it's done really well. You can see why so many people rate it. Okay, so as ever, leave no trace, just a dry outline of where the tent was sat last night. Quite a nice little pitch, to be honest. Quite level, nice and soft, and really lovely views in every direction. Penavon and Corndee in and out of the cloud this morning. Probably already quite a few crowds up there. So yesterday was a bit of contrast. 8 miles of gentle walking down the canal with the family. Picked up a few nature clips with my different camera. Very nice and warm, very hot, dry, sunny. Sat outside the pub with a nice pint of cider. Home for the football. Watched Liverpool win their second cup of the season. And then quick dart up to the Brecon Beacons. Very still evening. Lovely colours of sunset. And then today, rainy, windy, big dramatic grey skies with shafts of light coming through them. Raining again now. Yeah, just shows what what a great place South Wales is to live with the variety of terrain you can experience, often very close together. There's such a industrial heritage around South Wales, just so there's just so much left over from that that's now become kind of nature reserves and places to walk, and gives you something extra. So the miles and miles of canals are flat, full of wildlife, really pleasant walks, because there aren't many rivers that you can walk and get access to these days. So I'm almost back to the car now, so I'll say goodbye. For anyone who's made it this far, huge thanks as always. For anyone who's subscribed so far, massive thanks. It makes such a difference. You should see my smiling face when I get a notification that someone subscribed to the channel. It makes my whole day. So if you have thought about subscribing and you want to know that you're doing a good thing, then hit the subscribe button, drop a like on this video, and do feel free to check out some of the others. I've got a couple of different camps coming up. I've got a different tent to use as well, an older tent which I've dug out of the attic. It's really heavy, but it's a pretty decent tent, and it just happens to be compatible with the OEX backpack that I've got, because it's an OEX tent, so although it's really heavy, it'll be easy to carry in the bag at least. So yeah, I'm going to get back to the car, head home, see the family, maybe head out for a bit of a cooked breakfast, and then cry, because it's back to work on Monday. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.